Hi, it's Sherri from A Quilting Life, and I'm here today to share with you a new patchwork flannel quilt that I made, and also share with you some tips and tricks for sewing with flannel. I will have a PDF to share with how I put my quilt together, and hope that you'll enjoy this video and learn some things about sewing with flannel. So this quilt came about because my youngest son asked for a soft flannel quilt for Christmas. And what I did was I actually just picked up a layer cake of Farmhouse Flannels by Lisa Bonjean of Primitive Gatherings. And a layer cake has 42 10-inch squares. So I decided that with flannel, because it's often a little bit tricky sewing with it, that I would just make a simple patchwork grid. I did 6 squares across and 7 squares long. So I used all 42 squares from the collection, and I just sewed them together. I went ahead and added an outer border around the whole quilt with a coordinating flannel from the collection. There is actually right here, that square is in the quilt as well. So I did the outer border from that same fabric. And then I also did a flannel backing, and I've got that bolt right here. Lisa actually, in the meantime, before I got this all put together, came out with Farmhouse Flannels too. And so I was able to use this flannel from the Farmhouse Flannels 2 collection to do the backing. And I'm thinking about using this for the binding as well. Either that, or I think I might have some of this left over to do the binding with this. But either way, I'm going to do a flannel binding, and the front and the back are all flannel. When I took it to my quilter, she suggested just straight line quilting, and it's about just 2 inches apart, kind of. I think she just free motioned it on her long arm and just did straight lines, and I really love the look, and it really allows the flannel to, not be so densely quilted that it's going to be stiff. So it's just a really soft quilt with this straight line quilting. It looks super masculine, and I'm really happy with it. I did also want to talk to you just a few things about some tips with sewing with flannel. This is actually a brushed flannel, which means that the back side of the flannel, it does not have the flannel feel, but the front side does. Other flannels feel kind of the same on both sides, but this is a brushed flannel, and I really like working with it, but there are a few things that you have to remember. It does tend to shift when you're sewing. So you have a couple of options. You can either use extra pins to keep things more put together, or you can consider sewing a quilt like this using a walking foot. And by using a walking foot, it will pull both layers, the top and the bottom of the fabric, and it wouldn't actually be you'd have 2 pieces being sewn together. The walking foot would kind of pull those through together so that there would be less of a chance of shifting. I actually went ahead, I didn't use the walking foot when putting my quilt together, and I got everything to match up pretty well. I did use pins, whereas normally with a cotton and something this simple I might not have pinned, but I did use a few pins to keep it together, and that seemed to really help. Another thing you want to do when sewing with flannel is just remember that you want to keep the pattern simple. Not that you couldn't do something more complex than this, but you really wouldn't want to do really intricate blocks and try to put them together with flannel. Also, you can combine flannel or brushed flannel with regular quilting cottons if you want. Just know that you are going to have those issues of the flannel slightly wanting to shift when your regular quilting cottons won't. But I feel like it's with, just like with anything else, a little bit of practice sewing with flannel and it'll be super simple for you. And this is a great project to start out on. Just simple patchwork squares and simple quilting, and I think it's a winning combination. I hope you've enjoyed this video on how to make a patchwork flannel quilt. I hope you also enjoyed some of the tips I shared. And remember, I will have a PDF where I have all of the details about how to put this quilt together, so you can make your own version either with flannel or with any quilting cottons. If you enjoyed this video, please share with a friend and hit the like button. And if you haven't already, you can subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for stopping by.